So let's talk about doing our modified lunge sequence. So you know what the regular lunge and squat sequence looks like in the video above, but now we're going to be working on what a modified version of this would be for like a senior class or people with disabilities. So we would be on our hands and our knees to start, and then we would kind of like bow our forehead down to the floor and come onto our forearms instead of trying to press back all the way into child's pose. Taking nice deep breaths there. You're going to come back onto all fours, and we're going to wag the tail. Basically, we want to encourage mobility. Look over your left shoulder, try to see your left booty. We can even do some cat-cow. Rounding the spine, drawing the navel up, tucking the chin to the chest, and then releasing the lower back, dropping the navel down towards the floor, looking out and up, arching the back. So we can do some cat-cow, easy cat-cow. If you want to add some rolls, this is a little funky. I know it makes some people feel funky, and most people don't do them, but I do because I'm a dancer. And I pretend I have a crayon that's on my tailbone, and I'm trying to draw a circle on the wall behind me. So these are kind of like some undulations and hip circles that I do on my hands and my knees. That is not necessary. So coming back into that child's pose, you can try to get them to come into full child's pose. And then we're going to reach out and get a stretch over to the left. Reach out and get a stretch over to the right. Come back to center. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring that right foot forward and put it on the floor right in front of our face. Now you want to make sure that when somebody puts their foot in front of them into their lunge, that the heel is flat down on the floor. And as you can see, I roll my yoga mat to give myself extra yoga mat underneath my knee. You can teach them how to flip the mat to get that extra support, or if people need a blanket under the knee, they could do that. But it really should not be necessary. People coming into a lunge can put their hands on their lower back, and as you can see, I'm not going deep into this lunge. I'm kind of keeping my right leg at a right angle, and I am not going deep into a hip flexor stretch. Now, after I come into my lunge, I can come into my modified gecko pose, allowing the hands to come over to the right or the left side of the mat and allowing the torso to fall past the right thigh. Trying to bow the crown of the head and try to get as low as we can. Good. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do a modified transition onto our hands and our knees and cat bow, hug the elbows close to the body, touch the heart to the floor, look forward and come into a Sphinx pose, or if they have the ability to push all the way up into a Cobra pose, they can do that. We can also look over our shoulder and see our butt cheek, our booty cheek. So your role as an instructor when you're dealing with a senior population and a population dealing with disabilities is paying attention to their body language, paying attention to their face, whether or not they feel like they're keeping up, or whether or not you can see a lot of discomfort. So when you're working with seniors and people with disabilities, you have to be very, very, very attentive to paying attention to their body language to make sure that they're sticking along with you. We want everybody to feel successful when they leave a lazy monkey yoga class. And if somebody says, oh, this really hurts my knee, then what I'll basically do is I'll move through the series very briskly, very quickly, and cut a lot of stuff out so that they don't have to be on the knees. But we're going to do that lunge on the other side. If you want to do a power pose with the arms, you can do that too. But this is all about balance and stability, balance and stability. And placing the hands down over to the right edge of the mat. Trying to bow the crown down towards the floor. And then coming back into child's pose. Keeping everything very simple, very basic here. It's all about breathing and feeling and listening to the body and seeing what's going on in the body. I'm doing one more transition. One of the things of dealing with an older population is you're going to find people become agitated getting up and down and up and down and up and down all the time, up and down off the ground. So in the Lazy Monkey Yoga class, we structure it so that all the seated postures are done together, all of the lunges are done together, all of the abdominal work is done together, and all of the spinal twists are done together. That way things kind of are stacked. It makes it more digestible for people to be able to accomplish. So we are going to do my favorite spinal twist. Sometimes we call this the mermaid. It's when you're going to sit down on your yoga mat and you're going to swing your feet over to the left butt cheek, both of them. And then you're going to look over your right shoulder and twist the spine, creating, I guess you could say, mermaid-shaped legs, merman-shaped legs, whatever you want to call it. But then you can also lower the ear all the way down to the mat. And that's kind of like a nice, easy, gentle spinal twist that you can do with people as a modification, a modified spinal twist. I'm just going to finish out the series for you just so that you can see where you can go. Let's say you haven't done any seated anything yet, okay, and you started out on the chair. Then from the chair you did standing balances, and now you're doing modified lunges, because once you get them down on the ground, you want them to stay on the ground, right? So you can sit down on your booty, and you can go for your Janu Shirshasana. I don't know why I can't ever say that. Just doing a hamstring stretch to the right and a hamstring stretch to the left. And if you want to add a variation of that, you can do a nice forward fold. And then we can actually do the same thing, splaying the legs, kind of like doing a lateral flexion and a half straddle. So you can extend the left leg out on the diagonal while trying to pull the right heel towards the groin, and then reaching up and over and getting a nice lateral flexion and stretch. The thing about working with seniors and people with disabilities that's challenging is you want them to stay active and you want them to move, but you want to move at the right pace, and you don't want to linger. You don't want to be lingering around holding poses for a very prolonged period of time, because that can be agitating to some people. So try to keep everyone moving, and when you get everyone to a point where everyone has achieved the pose and everyone is there, count to about 10. And then come back and keep transitioning. You can do the cobbler's pose. And that is kind of like where you would go in a senior class or a modified class. You would start with your chair, you would do your standing balances, you would do your lunges, you would do some seated stretches, and that is when we would move to our back supine to do abdominal work, and then also spinal twists. And there you have it, everybody. Modified lunges with a sun salutation, modification, and stretches.